Indeed, is it true that you've acquired a house? If so, I'd be interested in living with you. Unexpectedly, my mother-in-law started uttering such an absurd proposition over the phone. She must have caught wind of our recent home purchase from my husband. I could discern my sister-in-law's amused chuckles in the background. Does she believe her laughter can go unnoticed? Honestly, I have no desire to reside with my mother-in-law and the others. I thought my husband shared the same sentiment. However, the fact that they've been informed about our new house. Could it be that they're assuming we'll be living together? The idea that my beloved husband might be in cahoots with them fills me with a bit of apprehension. Yet, I have no intention of yielding to their wishes. Are they trying to manipulate me? If that's their game, I'll reverse the roles. Reflecting on all my past tribulations, I pledged revenge against them. I am Kate Thompson, 30 years old, working as an ordinary employee at a major financial corporation. I married my husband Joe 3 years ago, and though we don't have children yet, there's a valid reason for that. A decision we both took seriously. Joe and I are fully committed to our careers, toiling daily with the aim of advancing. Once our professional lives stabilize, we plan to build our own home and create a stable environment for raising children. We've agreed to revisit the topic of having kids once our careers settle down. This was a decision we made earnestly, sharing our genuine feelings and thoughts. We do aspire to have children eventually, and now as we prepare for that, I find myself recalling all my past struggles. Then one day, I successfully executed a well-planned project at work, and my promotion was officially confirmed. While my salary was already sufficient, the promotion brought even more comfort to our lives. On the other hand, Joe, although not promoted, received a substantial salary increase due to his years of service. With both our incomes on the rise, I felt it was time to turn our long-held dream into reality, so I broached the topic with Joe. Joe, I want to talk to you. Over the past year, both of us have had stable incomes. I think it might be time to consider getting our own home. What do you think? Oh, is it time already? From his excited voice, I could tell Joe was thrilled. Actually, I've been thinking about it too, but since I haven't been promoted yet, I felt a bit hesitant to bring it up. Don't worry about that. It's not like only one of us needs to earn money. I was thinking it might be okay to build our home in my name. Really? Well, you do earn more now. If you're okay with it, let's build our home in your name. All right, let's proceed with that. Let's go see some model houses on our next day off. Sounds great, let's go. We shouldn't miss this opportunity. I really feel grateful for choosing Joe at times like this, as we share the same values. The following week, we made an appointment to view model homes as planned. We looked at various types of houses, expanding our vision for our own home. On weekends, we began creating simple floor plans together, researching online. During a recent visit to a construction company, they suggested that instead of leaving everything to them, it's better if we create our own image for a more satisfying home. So Joe and I started building that image. However, neither of us has much knowledge of architecture or design, and even with research, it takes time to put it into practice. While taking breaks, we continued working, and then the doorbell rang. I thought it was a delivery, but when I opened the door, my mother-in-law was standing there unexpectedly. "Huh, Mother? What brings you here so suddenly like this?" My mother-in-law sometimes visits our place without notice. She glared at me and, without a word, took off her shoes and went into the house on her own. I near Joe, surprised by his mother's call, showed a startled reaction. "What's up? Did you have some business around here?" To Joe's question, his mother looked a bit perplexed. "Yes, I told Kate about it over the phone a little while ago, but it seems Joe didn't know." "I see. Maybe Kate forgot to tell me. Seems like it, Joe, even though he's still young, has a terrible memory." "That's not true, Mom. It's not forgetfulness. Kate is incredibly busy with work, and at the same time, she takes care of the household. Her mind is always full of things to do. You're such a kind boy, Joe. If your late father were here, he definitely wouldn't have forgiven that. I really respect Kate from the bottom of my heart." "So, Mom, why did you come here today?" To Joe's question, His mother smiled contentedly. Then she slowly took out a travel brochure from her bag, spread a page with a post-it note on the table, and showed it. Listen, Joe. I've always wanted to go to Niagara Falls. Won't you take me, please? My mother-in-law began to say such things excitedly out of the blue. Caught off guard by the sudden request, both Joe and I were left staring at her, mouths agape. My mother-in-law, relentless, kept pressing Joe, who was clearly flustered. Come on, Joe, you agree, right? Think of it as a way to show filial piety. Wait a minute, Mom. I'm in trouble if you suddenly say you want to go on a trip. Though you can come too, actually. I was thinking of going with Claire, but if Joe wants to go, I'm delighted to turn it into a family trip. Claire is Joe's sister. What are you talking about? Kate is here, and I can't get time off from work. But it's strange for me to pay for a trip for you and my sister, right? Not strange at all. Spending money for the family is a wonderful thing, don't you think so, Kate? Suddenly turning to me, my mother-in-law sought my agreement. Though shaken, I firmly expressed my opinion to her. Using one's own money for family isn't bad, but I think imposing it on others is different. What do you mean by that? Are you saying I'm trying to extort travel expenses from Joe? I didn't mean to say it in such a harsh way, but listening to you, it sounded like you just wanted us to pay for the trip, Katie. That's terrible. I had no such intention, but you're making me out to be the villain in front of Joe. I'm so shocked. That's not. I didn't mean to call you a villain. I just answered honestly to what was asked. Okay, no need for excuses, Kate. Why are you so heartless? You must not like me, do you? My mother-in-law, visibly upset, glared at me with icy cold eyes. It always turns out like this when she comes over. She always finds some reason to demand money and then squanders it with Claire, Joe's sister. Spending money for the family sounds nice, but what my mother-in-law does is practically extortion. The situation is entirely different when Joe gives the money out of kindness, no matter that they're family. I never really liked Joe's mother and sister. According to Joe, his mother and sister became selfish after his father passed away. Joe's father died when he was in high school, and since then, they have lived as a trio. With his strict father alive, he watched over the finances. But with his departure, there was no one to stop them, and they even freely spent the life insurance money. Also, since Claire works part-time and not as a full-time employee, her salary is low, and their life is always on the edge. So this is why she regularly visits our house, making excuses like life is tough, or I want to relax and travel somewhere, to extort money from Joe. Before marrying Joe, it seemed he was at the mercy of his mother and her demands. After his father's death, a sense of dependence for being cared for by his mother had bound Joe. However, since marrying me, Joe seems to be gradually realizing their true nature. Even when repeatedly asked for money, recently he's been trying hard to refuse. For Joe, that's quite a growth. Moreover, he has recently become able to speak back firmly to his mother. To my mother-in-law's spiteful words like, "You don't like me, do you?" Or "Why should I?" For such an uncharming daughter-in-law, Joe responded clearly, "Just because you're my mother doesn't mean you can speak badly of Kate. Didn't Kate just answer what you asked her?" "Mom, you're taking Kate's side." "What are you talking about?" "I think you're in the wrong here, Mom." "That's so unfair. Surely Kate must have poisoned your mind against me, poor thing. You were such a kind child before we got married." "I'm telling you, that's not it. I'm saying this because I think so." Joe's firm response surprised my mother-in-law, who was not used to being talked back to like that. With a frustrated look, by biting her lower lip, she said, "Fine," and left. "Kate, I'm sorry. I'd always make you feel uncomfortable." "No, it's okay. You stood up for us this time. Once we build our own home, we'll be further away. Let's not interact with Mom and them." "Then yeah, that would be a relief. If you're okay with it, Joe, I'm grateful." The area we're considering for our new home is quite far from our current apartment, improving the convenience for both of our workplaces. Our current apartment is about 5 train stations away from Joe's parental home, but the new house will be 3 times farther and require transfers. The route from the station is also complex, so if we don't give them the address, they won't be able to find our new home. It's a good chance to cleanly break off our relationship with my mother-in-law. Later, we submitted our imagined floor plan to the construction company, and the construction started 2 months later. After about half a year, our $500,000 dream home was completed. We managed to squeeze some time from our busy work schedules to pack a few days before the move. I received a call from my mother-in-law on my smartphone. Busy packing. I turned on the speaker and answered the phone. Hello, I said, and my mother-in-law started speaking in an unusually high-pitched voice. Kate, when are you moving? You bought a house, right? I want to live with you. Suddenly, on the phone, my mother-in-law began to say such an outrageous thing. She must have heard about our new home purchase from Joe. I could hear Claire, my sister-in-law, chuckling in the background. That's great. We can make Kate work for us every day, Mom. You came up with a good idea, said Claire. Do they think their words aren't reaching me? It's clear they plan to piggyback on our move. I imagine them planning to use us for an easy life, honestly. I have no intention of living with them. I thought Joe felt the same. But telling them about the new house, could it be that they're assuming we'll live together? The thought that my beloved Joe might be in league with them fills me with a bit of fear. But I have no intention of letting them have their way. They're probably trying to use me, right? If that's the case, I'll turn it around and use them. I told them the date of our move. Then my mother-in-law and Claire said, we'll come to the apartment in the afternoon on that day. Take us with you in the car and arrange the movers for us too. They hung up after making their demands. But of course, I have no intention of complying. For now, I'll check the facts with Joe. As I was about to go and tell Joe this, he was already standing behind me. Joe, you were there. I came to say we should take a break. But was that Mom on the phone just now? Ah, yes. I was going to talk to you about it too. Why did you tell your mother about our new home? It's not like that. Actually, when Mom came over last time, she seems to have seen the floor plan of our new house. She kept pestering me about it every day, so Kate, I'm really sorry. I see. So you don't intend to live with your mother, right? Of course not. After hearing that phone call, I'm even thinking it's better to cut ties with her. Joe's expression was filled with more anger than ever. It was the first time I had seen him this angry. From what Joe told me, my mother-in-law had seen the layout of our new home and was convinced it was a spacious house. She had pretended to be interested and called Joe repeatedly, asking him about the number of rooms and details of the facilities. But it seems that Joe is on my side, which relieved me. Then there's no problem at all. This made me determined to get my revenge on my mother-in-law. I've had enough of her saying whatever she wants. But it's goodbye to that now. I'll make sure to settle this properly. And so the day of the move arrived. Joe and I had the movers transport our things in the morning and headed to our new home in our car. By the time we finished moving everything, it was already past 1 p.m. Checking our phones while taking a break, we saw dozens of missed calls from my mother-in-law. She called me too, Joe said, sounding weary. Then my mother-in-law called again. I answered the phone with the speaker still on. Hello? Hello, Kate. Where are you? I told you I'd be at the apartment in the afternoon, didn't I? Yes, you did say that. So what can I do for you? What do you mean you didn't arrange for the movers? I've been waiting at home, and not a single truck has shown up. So I had to go to your apartment myself. Is that so? Well, that's too bad. You know, I didn't arrange for any movers. What? That's not the agreement. Where is your new house? Huh, you really think I'll tell you? After saying that clearly, my mother-in-law uttered a dumbfounded huh. She probably thought that as long as Joe was there, she could always have her way. But Joe is different now. He's my precious ally, trying to cut off the bad ties with his family. Determined to release all my pent-up feelings, I spoke firmly. Just to let you know, neither Joe nor I have any intention of living with the two of you from now on. Please don't involve yourselves in our lives. What are you saying? Your opinion doesn't matter. It's up to Joe to decide. At least tell me where the new house is right now. Huh. How are you going to get here without even knowing the address? This house is in my name. I have the right to decide who lives here. If you two just barge in, it's trespassing, and I'll sue you right away. What? Trespassing? How rude to say that about your husband's family. At that point, Joe spoke up in a deathly cold voice. Family? My father, who was a family member, is already gone, isn't he? What are you saying, Joe? After hearing that last phone call, I'm utterly fed up with you two. Just having a blood relation with you is embarrassing. From now on, my family is only Dave and Kate. I no longer consider you two as my family. Wait, Joe, don't say such things. Don't bother us again, Gatted. With that, Joe hung up without waiting for her reply. He swiftly set his phone to block her calls. Hey, Joe, are you really okay with this? Yeah, I finally realized that Mom was just using me to her advantage. I feel completely relieved now. Joe looked truly refreshed, sincerely believing what he said. That's how we, as a couple, managed to cut off the bad ties with my mother-in-law and sister. Afterwards, they had to change their lifestyle drastically, as Joe stopped supporting them completely. Without any contact with Joe, they lost their fallback option. Later on, my sister-in-law's part-time income wasn't enough, and my mother-in-law had to start working part-time as well. Being a housewife for so long, she wasn't used to the working environment and was clumsy, often being disliked at her workplace. Meanwhile, we live a peaceful life in our new home with no sudden visits from my mother-in-law anymore. We are truly stress-free. I'm endlessly grateful to Joe for believing in me and cutting ties with his toxic blood relatives. We might face various challenges in the future, but even then, I trust Joe, and we will support each other and walk through life together.